Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. So today I am joined by Matt Horder, and Matt Horder is a financial planner and transition coach and works for Magus.
That's it. Magus Private Wealth. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome. So why are we getting together today? What's all this about? Talking about finance and the focus on why. How does that even work?
Well, you've kindly invited me onto your podcast because you have a very, very good concept, the focus on why. And it's something that has probably been missing from our industry for quite a number of years. And following my move to Magus in 2016, I got to see a very different way of giving financial advice to my clients, and it was a real eye opener. And it's through Magus and the way they do their financial planning that I've seen a whole world for myself as much as my clients, which are families, business owners, and individuals. And it all starts with the why. You know,
amazing.
Yeah.
So how is it different to how you were operating before, so that it was a big shift change for you?
Well, I worked for a very big company, and they were very much driven by assets under management, you know, just as the sort of like the standard industry model. And, I came from a family business, Horder and Company, started in 95. Dad had his business, sold it in 2004, to a company very similar to Magus. But, that company over the next 10, 11 years grew and grew. And it just felt that the model that they had, which was, as I said, assets under management, very sales driven, bonuses, driven, targets, and it just didn't sit right with me. And I was like, this is real people's money. This is real life. This is not for me. And so in 2015, I made the decision that this company and this way of doing business is not right for me. And I'd never heard of Magus before. And a friend of mine said, look, you really need to go and speak to these guys. And I did. And in 2016, moved across, brought my individual clients across. I've got some corporate clients as well, but primarily there were two reasons. There were personal reasons, what was my why for coming across? And it really was, I wanted to take back control of my life. I didn't want to be driven by the 25 days holiday. I didn't want to be driven by sales targets. I didn't want to have sales managers over me. I went, Matt, it's time to get back control of your life. So there was a really powerful why that I needed to step away from where I was. But also I wanted to go, well, how am I best going to serve my clients? And the best way I felt was have a smaller number of clients and look after them better. And I felt that Magus was the company that was going to allow me to do that. And so far, I've been proved right.
Sounds like the Jerry Maguire style, show me the money, but in a different way, just have a few number of clients and really look after them properly.
That's it. Show me the why. And so when you asked me to come on the podcast, Amy, it so resonated with me because I was like, wow, we are doing this already, and it's something that it's so overlooked. And I want to share with you a story that happened to me this morning, Amy. A very good family friend of mine, I called her up. She's 74. She sadly lost her husband through motor neurons disease, and she's on her own, and she's finding it very difficult to deal with all the things that need to go on in life. Certainly looking after the finances, although she did have her own business. But her husband was very much, who sort of kind of took care of the money, as is often the case in older relationships. But we had a conversation that the client was talking to me, and she was just going straight to the how. She said, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. And I was like, whoa, slow down. slow down. We're missing two parts of the jigsaw puzzle here. And when we started to just backpedal a little bit, all of a sudden the anxiety started to fall away, and the why became the house she was going to purchase. But when I said, this is about you bringing your life back to life, and she went, oh yeah. And all of a sudden we've gone from how we're going to do stuff, the money, to, oh, what is it that it's for me? And what is my purpose? And that only happened about 2 hours ago. And it just reinforced exactly what conversations I'm having with clients now. We're not all about the money anymore.
And how does she feel after the end of that call with you?
Well, she's a very good family friend, and it's very difficult to have these sort of conversations. You've really got to work out, where, you've got to find the line between the professional part of you, the friend part of you, the family friend part of you. And also you've got there's a piece that I'm trying to do as well. And this is the intangible piece of where I see the value is that, I'm also trying to educate clients to break down how they may think about a problem, and my role is to also subtly try and re-educate them to think about a problem in a different way. And because money is a very emotional subject for people, and my job is to take that emotion out and give it the objectivity it needs. And so we had quite a heated conversation, and I've got to tell you, I don't enjoy them. I don't think anyone does, especially with people you know and love. But you've got to get the truth out there. That's why they're paying you. You've got to give them your professional point of view. And so at the end of it, we were both going, oh, wow. We were both relaxed. We both felt a sense of, we've accomplished something there. We've got to the right.
So why do people have such complicated relationships with money? How has that come about?
Well, remember, a lot of it is all around the scripts that were given to us when we were younger. And so, one of the things that we grow up is, and one of the great questions that I ask clients is, just tell me what was life like growing up? What did money mean to you when you were growing up? What role did money play? Well, of course, with some of my older clients who are sort of like 70, 75, there was a much more of a frugal sense of money. The spending was it was just not part of their upbringing. And so they like cash, and if they're in the market, they get nervous, of course. So in an environment like right now, well, actually, this is slightly different. I'll go back to 2007-8 when it was just around the banking crisis. There was a lot of focus on the money, and oh my gosh, my money's gone down. I've lost X. And of course, you have to remind clients, you haven't lost anything. It's a paper value. You only lose it if you go to cash. Now, if you allow their emotion to drive the decision making, or they were looking after the money on their own, they would all be in cash, because that's the natural state, decision that you would do. Whereas my job is to say, no, you've got to sit tight. The difference between now is there's a far bigger problem than money.
And I can see how this transition coach role is so crucial to what you do in the planning of people's finances, because it's not just the physical, tangible money that they've got to invest. It's what is driving the long-term interest in why they're wanting to plan. And they're probably not even thinking about that at the time when you're having uncomfortable conversations, probably much sooner than they would be wanting to have those.
Well, there's no question that the old adage, get comfortable being uncomfortable, it's true, because, we have to get out of our comfort zone, and we have to have uncomfortable conversations. And like I said, I don't like having them, but my job is to take the Mañana out of people's worlds. And of course, we're always going to put aside the conversation that we don't want to have, or I'll deal with that tomorrow, or when I get round to it, or I just go on holiday, or I just do that. And of course, the stalling tactics that anyone would use for their own, for some of the things that they need to do personally, well, people are paying me to bring those to the top of their priority list and make them accountable for it. And that's another one of those intangible benefits, is that my job is to help them get things done, and to have difficult conversations. And actually, those difficult conversations, like anything, it's in our minds, they are far worse than they ever are. And that's just the human mind, isn't it? It plays tricks on us. Anxiety, worry, stress. Oh my God, what is he going to ask me? And then once the conversation happens, people go, "Oh, thank you, Matt. That was good. I didn't expect that to be. I didn't expect that to be as easy as it was. And you know what? I really feel a lot clearer now. I understand why you were asking me to deal with that now. I understand the cost of not doing that thing now. Yeah, thank you. I will go back and speak to my other half or my family about what we discussed." And that is a very rewarding part of the job. But, it starts with the bigger picture again. It starts with this big why piece. Without that, if there's no context, there's no why, it means that the how becomes even harder and the conversations become harder because people don't understand why they're doing what they're doing.
So when you moved to this new role in 2016 and you hadn't really been operating with this type of model before, it was something that you sort of adapted to. How has it been applied to your own life?
Well, I have been very keen over certainly in the last 3 years of a journey of self-discovery, and I've really been sort of turning. I've been very blessed with a good life. I've got one wonderful friends, family, and a lovely partner, and I've been blessed to do some great things. But a lot of it has been very much around a sort of the external experiences of life, and. I spent some time being sort of a ski instructor. I've had a sabbatical, in Verbier, learning to do some ski instructing. I've had some wonderful charity stuff. Certainly with name drop Lawrence Dallaglio and Dallaglio Rugby Works. I've been blessed to be able to take 3 weeks off and go and do charity bike rides. But they're all outside experiences. And I was going, Matt, I think you need to turn the torch inside. You need to understand a little bit more about who you are, and it starts with the why. And I was really trying to work out what is it that is going to get me out of bed every morning. Because at 47 now, I feel I'm at this sort of kind of what we call the prepare, repair, recovery, discovery stage of life. And and I feel that I've got to find out what my why is, what my purpose is, so that I can then just sort of tee myself up for the next, 30 years of life, or 40 if I'm lucky. And so these questions that I've been asking clients, it's turning them back on myself.
And is it fair to say that you didn't really see this coming, and it was a bit of a revelation?
I've got one of my favorite films is a film called Get Shorty with John Travolta in, and it's basically about this guy who's a Shylock, and his story is just evolving as he goes along, and he's telling this film director about his story, and the film director goes, "Well, is that it?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's it, because the next bit hasn't happened yet." And it brings me back to this wonderful book I read by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and it really is about give the present moment your fullest attention. If you give the moment your fullest attention, that is where you'll make the best decisions, and that is where, and that's what I tell clients as well, is that when we're having our conversations together, put your phones down. This is our time together to get the best out of this moment. And it's been through that process that I've used myself, and I found that it's been very rewarding, and I'm seeing some good changes. But it's certainly, I never saw this coming when I moved to Magus.
And what would have happened if you hadn't have moved to Magus? How would you be living right now?
Amy, that is a very good question. How would I be living now? Well, I know I wouldn't still be at my old place. My conscience wouldn't allow me to have stayed there any longer. If I'd have known more about the sort of like the coaching role that I'm moving into, the sort of the transitional coaching piece, which is pretty mirroring what I do within the financial planning space. I feel that more of my time would have been spent on that, coaching. Again, it would have been individuals, families and business owners. How can we transition through life? We've all got to do it. So I think probably that would have been a course of action I would have taken.
So you would have found this sort of journey of self-discovery because it was something that you started to question, but your role has just sort of endorsed and reinforced what you're doing, both at home and at work.
It has, and Amy, since the introduction of podcasts and YouTube, I watch very little TV. I don't watch any news, and I am truly trying to be the guardian of the information that comes into my mind, because someone else is programming me to feel and think what they want to. And so since the introduction of podcasts, Tony Robbins, I listened to one in December 2017. It was Find Your Purpose. It was with a guy called James Altringer. But it just all came to life, and that this is what I've got to do. I've got to find my purpose. And education from YouTube and podcasts has been an absolute delightful journey. And that's where I found most of the things that I'm working on today, because the best minds are out there and you get them for nothing.
I totally agree. And I think that being selective on the input that you have is so crucial. I again, don't listen or watch the news. Things will filter through to you eventually. It's not, but to spend time for me on the things that I deem really important. For me, it's acquisition of knowledge. And so I am a big reader, but I get to choose what it is I read and how I consume that information, and then also how I apply it. And I think that, what you're saying is that something will resonate with you, and then you will pursue that, and you will take ownership of it. But also you're using it to benefit your clients, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. And one of the key messages that really you look for common themes with when I'm listening to podcasts or YouTubes. I know what I'm looking after. I know what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for a common message. And in the role that I do, my job is to ask good questions. My job is to ask good questions and sit there and say nothing. And the less I say in meetings, the better, because it's the client's story that I'm after. And there's no way that a client's story is ever going to come out if I'm talking. So how we shape our conversations, how we find the stories, how we engage our clients to feel confident and comfortable enough for them to share those stories is where I'm learning every day. And I learn from the best, and I learn from what I gather from podcasts and what I get from YouTube and what I get from my own industry. There's another guy called Andy Hart who's set up the Voyantist. I mean, he is one great guy to have in our industry. He's a young guy as well, and he's just taking these concepts and turning the industry around. And he's definitely someone I like to follow as well. But it's ask a good question and just listen to the answer. And you will find what you need you will find what you need to help piece together a client's financial plan and deliver it so that it actually matches what they want.
I think that's very powerful. And I think what you're sort of inferring is that money is not the main part of the conversation.
Money is almost not talked about. I mean, clearly it is. It's financial planning. But there's a really lovely metaphor that I like to try and bring across to clients, is to say, look, the car analogy is so easy. Everyone understands it. My job is to basically create the model, or find the model that works for you. And that's the plan. The engine is the investment strategy, and the money's the fuel. You need the fuel to run your car. You need the fuel to run your life. You need the money to run your life. But you've got to make sure that you've got the right engine in the right car, in the right model, and you put the right fuel in. But you don't build your car around the fuel. So if we build everything around the money, we're gonna come unstuck. We're not going to get the right outcome. And so, but don't get me wrong, it's an integrated process. But the why piece is the shape of the car, And I think that's really where the fulfilling conversations come from. We leave the fuel to the end.
And I think with your sort of metaphor there, or your analogy, is that who drives that car? Who is at the focal point of that whole system? And that's you.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the client, it's the family. If it's a family, it needs to be a bigger size car. It needs to be a family car. If it's just sort of a young entrepreneurial, guy, girl who's just looking for, somewhere to put money, grow their wealth, well, they don't need the 7-seater. So plans will vary depending on who I'm dealing with.
I think the clarity that you're working towards for your clients is very important, that they are working on themselves, that you're helping them to sort their own plan, essentially. So it's not like you're recommending things, you are allowing them to carve out their own path.
Yeah, I'm not going, here you go, there's 4 models, pick one, and there you got 2 colors, blue or red. That was the old school way. There you go, you can have a blue or a red one, or if it was Model T, back in the Henry Ford's day, black only. They design the car. It's I'm trying to create for them, or for them to create their own bespoke life. That's we've only got one crack at this. So, and if I can help people find that vision for themselves, then I feel that I've done my job.
And how does it feel to be such a positive influence in this space?
Well, it hasn't always been like that. It's there's been reservations, there's been mistrust, there's a lot of things have happened in our industry where the industry has let the retail client down, and we've been caught in the middle of that space, and so a lot of work has been done in trying to break clients' preconceived ideas around what we do, and how we can serve them. But when that message does get across to them and they see the benefits and they see the value, then there's no greater feeling. And the cost of getting it wrong in a very complicated world is far greater than any fee that I charge. It really will. And so I really am sort of feel blessed that I'm able to be on the front line of this for clients now.
And how has it changed since sort of working at home recently for you, from as a with your clients? How has the communication changed at all?
Well, if we take that our industry, or my role, is all about relationships. It's building client relationships. It's getting them to believe and trust in me. And my job is to make sure that I know their personal situations inside out, and that I give them the peace of mind that they can entrust me with their money and their plans. Well, that would maybe be a meeting once a year, maybe quarterly, depending on what a client wants. But I'm calling clients once a week. This period that we find ourselves in, out of all the troubles and the difficulties that are going on, and anyone who's suffering from COVID at the moment, my thoughts go out to you. But with regard to my clients, my job is to make sure that they know I'm still here, and it's been a revelation, really. Just reinforcing that client message and that client connection. I'm here for you, and I'm calling them up. How you doing, guys? You okay? Do you need me to bring anything around for you? Certainly my older ones who are vulnerable. I've said, look, do you need me to drop anything at the front door? They've been, Matt, I really appreciate the call. That's very kind of you. And 5 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. So it's been very rewarding.
So what would your sort of core messages be to people right now who are thinking about planning their finances, and they haven't, but now they realize just how important it might be, but they feel a bit overwhelmed maybe?
In the situation we find ourselves in now, I think people have realized that with a flick of a switch, they can go from feeling I'm okay to I'm not okay. And they will see the cracks in any plan or any strategy that they may have been having. And I think this vulnerability that people will be feeling is, we need to get our house in order, or we took our eye off that, or we should have done that, and oh my gosh, is our wills and power of attorney in place? All of a sudden, when things go the other way or the wrong way, that seems to be the call of action for people. Well, actually, our job as planners is to do the prep work in the sunshine, so that you don't want to be putting your plans, even thinking about them, when the world is in a tough place. You want to be doing that when the sun's out, when you're on the front foot. And so, my message to anyone is that take the manna. My job is to take the mañana out of my client's world. So if you need something done, then today is as good a time as any. And we want to be making difficult decisions or doing financial planning when we're on the front foot. And so that is another key message here is that anything that we do while we're on the back foot can often lead to poor decision making. And we want to make sure that our clients make the right decisions for the right outcome. And really the best way of doing that is metaphorically in the sunshine.
I get that. And I think that, you are showing up every day physically for some clients, but virtually for majority of them. And, that's definitely an admirable thing. What else are you doing just to sort of get yourself through this and keep a positive frame of mind?
Well, something popped into my head, to my little head, about 25 days ago. And I've no idea why I did it, but I thought, we could be in lockdown for a while. And I thought, what is it that I can do with myself? And I thought, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to rekindle a passion. And my passion was always playing records. Now, I can't call myself a DJ because anyone who's watched me play records with two turntables will know that the transition between one record and the next may not be as smooth as someone that may call themselves a DJ. But I have called myself DJ Two Tracks. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get back to playing records again. So I fired the decks up, put some records on, played a couple of tracks. I recorded it for someone as a bit of a laugh, and they said, can I have day two? I went, really? Okay. So every day for the last 25 days, I've been releasing the Hunker Bunker set, DJ Two Tracks, and I've really I've been playing two records. I've been putting a little story or a little message, a little positive message into that, a few shout outs to a few friends, whether it be a birthday or someone doing something out in the wide world trying to help people, and just hopefully giving a little lift to people during this difficult time. And it's been very rewarding, let me tell you.
Well, what started out as a bit of fun has definitely cheered up the day for me and anyone else who's caring to watch over my shoulder when I'm doing it. But no, it definitely has brought people together, and for you, the one focus on your why, your passion, has been to rekindle that, and it's probably something that you're likely to continue afterwards because you realise how much you enjoyed it.
Well, I had day 30 as really the cutoff, but this is going to go day 31, day 32, and again back to kind of one of the messages I said to people on the Hunker Bunker. I said, look, we've all got to shorten our time frames. Whereas before we'd be planning holidays 6 months, a year in advance. That's not an option to us anymore. And so when we bring our timescales back, it's amazing how our anxieties drop. Our stresses drop. And so the Hunker Bunker sets are just every day as they come. It allows me to just, one of my key messages that I tell myself, I say, Matt, you must give the present moment your fullest attention. And so when I'm doing on these Hunker Bunker sets, there is no past, there is no future. It's just me, my little iPhone, my two records, and whatever falls out of my mouth.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And the present moment is a tough one. We're always thinking about what comes next and forgetting about what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, it's the human condition, and we're driven by this sort of this modern mind of to-do lists and striving and action, and actually this is probably, without realizing it, this is this world we find ourselves in is a reset on many levels, whether it be a global scale or just your own level. And really one of the things that we want to be doing is, let's bring the attention back to ourselves again. Let's not worry about what the world's doing. The world will take care of itself. Why don't we learn to take care of ourselves? And this is a great opportunity to do that.
I think a lot of people fail to take care of themselves. They're so busy helping others. I think that's a really good message.
Well, I think it'd be something that we feel guilty of. I think there's an element of guilt, shame, or I shouldn't be looking after myself. I should be helping others. That's what I'm meant to be doing in life. And sure, that's that there is a role to play for that. But put your oxygen mask on before helping others is a great analogy. It's been said a lot, but it's so true. We've got to be strong so that we can help others.
Absolutely. So how would people get in touch with you, Matt? What's the best way to reach out to you if they want to have a chat?
Well, I'm a very simple guy, believe it or not, and so I'm not really into all the social media other than for the hunker bunker sets. But my email address is mhorder@maguswealth.co.uk, and my LinkedIn Matthew Horder. You'll find me on those two forms of communication. And if you want to follow me on the Hunker Bunkers, then just look me up on Facebook, Matt Horder. You'll see me. Brilliant.
And what would you leave this podcast? What final message would you like to leave the audience with?
It really is to give the present moment your fullest attention. It's where life is. It's where everything happens, and you'll find that when you do that, that life will become less stressful. And there's a lovely quote that's in one of my favorite books. Well, not yeah, it is one of my favorite books. It's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It one of the quotes is there from Nietzsche, and it says, any man who has a big enough why to live will bear any how. Very similar to that. And that's really the quote I want to leave you with, because it is about the why. Find that reason you're going to get out of bed in the morning, and the how will just take care of itself.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlinson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star iTunes review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of the inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.